Hello everyone, and another beautiful day here in Dublin. Blue skies, which is quite unusual for us. But another walk home, so another video. And today I want to talk about something that has been kind of brewing in my head for the last while, but something that I don't hear too many people mentioning online or in videos or in commentaries. And that is the case of world leadership being, well, let's call a spade, too old. Now, what do I mean by that before anybody crucifies me in the comments? I'm talking that a lot of world leaders, especially of the more prominent countries in the world, will say United States, Russia, China in particular, have all leadership that is over 70 years old. China, Xi Jinping is 73, as is Vladimir Putin of Russia, and of course Donald Trump is 79 in the US. Even smaller countries that have got outsized amount of influence on the world, such as Israel, their leader Benjamin Netanyahu is 76. Now, what's the issue with this? Well, a country run by an elderly leader is going to end up in a situation which is very different from a country that is run by a younger man or woman. What I'm getting at here is that there are some aspects of being under the leadership of someone that old that is going to end up pushing your country in certain particular directions. Firstly, somebody who is in their 70s doesn't have the energy or the wherewithal really to really lead a country. They might have the wisdom, they might have the experience, but beyond that, they can very often get roped into kind of myopic point of view, get very narrow-minded, and just focus on one particular thing without taking other things into account. And this is no bad thing in and of itself. That sort of focus can be put to very good use, but it does mean that outside opinion, which might conflict with the leader's agenda or might conflict with the leader's point of view, is generally or can generally be dismissed. The second thing is that people who are of that age are usually thinking about retirement more than anything else. They've done their bit for king and country, they've done their bit for the society, they've helped bring up the next generation, and now they want to enjoy the proceeds of their hard work. Leaders, on the other hand, who are that old, tend to be more centered on their legacy. They're thinking about not sitting back and enjoying life in their twilight years, but on what legacy they're going to leave for people to remember them when they have shuffled off this mortal coil. And that can be a problem because in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases, that legacy can end up with very violent and very destructive consequences, such as what a lot of commentators maintain was one of Vladimir Putin's motivations for going into Ukraine, and could possibly be a motivation for Trump going into Venezuela earlier this year and into Iran more recently. The third thing that comes to mind when you're talking about overall leaders, especially leaders who are in control of dictatorships or autocratic regimes, is the fact that they're not going to be around forever, and they know it. Deep down, they know it. So the brakes that might be applied to younger men when they are put into a difficult situation may not apply to them, largely because they feel, well, I'm not going to be around to suffer the bad consequences of this. It is something to keep in mind if you are a follower of one of these types of leaders who might have to pick up the pieces and suffer the consequences of your leader's decisions when he has passed on to the other side, so to speak. So it's those three aspects which really jump to mind about what's going on in the world today. Now, barring Xi Jinping, who is mostly focused on internal affairs, the other three characters that I have mentioned in this video, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and Benjamin Netanyahu, all seem to have underlying in their ideology the fact that they want that these three things apply. They're all highly focused on one particular thing, or maybe more than one, but they're highly focused on their goals, and they discount any negative consequences. They are also don't really take into account the negative aspects of what their countries or their states will suffer through in the long term, because they won't be here to really worry about that. And they're all very much focused on their legacy, right? How will the world view them and think of them when they are when they're no longer here? In Ireland, we had a similar leader. He didn't get us involved in a war, so to speak, although he was our political leader during the War of Independence. This was a man named Eamon de Valera. He clung on to power as President of the Irish Republic, which I mentioned in another video was more of a ceremonial position anyway. But he clung on to power and manipulated the levers of power all the way up until the 1970s. And some of his ideas about what Ireland should be, a largely agricultural country, very Roman Catholic, and very independent, not really connected to other places in the world, kind of held us back in a lot of ways until a new generation of politicians took over in the 1970s, which basically started the road to the prosperity we now have today. My point, basically, at the end of the day, is that when you vote for or you install leaders in your country who are older, you are rolling a dice. It is a big, like most times, the vast majority of times, people who are in their 70s who should really be basically looking forward to their retirement, and yes, can advise the next generation, but I don't have active control of the levers of power. If you vote for people like that to become the leaders of your country, then it is a big gamble you are taking. Like, there are some cases of people who are elderly who did manage to do a fantastic job and make their country a better place, focused on improving the welfare of their people. Winston Churchill of England, Charles de Gaulle of France. But on the whole, it tends to go down a very dark path. And you can even go back into ancient history and see the same. Elderly emperors of the Roman Empire had the same problem. So just some food for thought with regards to one of the explanations as to why we're living through a very dystopian world at the moment.